Sri Ganesha Sharada Gurubhyo Namaha. Sindhuraruna Vigraham Trinayanam Manikya Taranayaka Shekharam Smitamukhim Apinamakshoruham Panibhyam Alipurna Ratna Chashakam Raktotpalam Bibhratim Somyam Raktagadasta Raktacharanam Dhyayet Param Ambikam. Welcome to all for this session on Lalitopakhyanam. Since the last chapter, after telling the story of churning of the milky ocean from which arrived the pot of nectar in the hands of Dhanvantari, and then Vishnu took the form of Mohini and cheated the Danavas, handing the Amrita or the ambrosia or the nectar only to the Devas, making the Devas most powerful compared to the Danavas. And at the end of that, Hayagriva Muni started telling the story of Bhandasura, who also captured all the triple world and driving the Devas to different directions. And then how Lalita Parameshwari had killed the Bhandasura. Now, from this chapter, Hayagriva Muni started telling the cause of birth of Bhandasura. Listen, O Agastya Muni. Once Sati Devi, daughter of Daksha Prajapati and wife of Lord Shankara, destroyed her physical body in her self created fire of Yoga Chidagni at having been slighted by her father in the presence of all. Having thus lost his beloved wife Sati Devi, Shankara was shaken with wrath, and he brought forth Kala Bhairava, who began his fierce destruction of Daksha Yagna. After being thus appeased, Lord Rudra sank into deep silence of Samadhi on the peak of Mount Tuhina by the bank of Bhagirathi in the Himalayas. Devi Sati, who had disintegrated her previous body, followed her lord in spirit to his ashrama and was born there as Parvati, the daughter of King of Himalayas, Himavanta, in fulfillment of her boon to the latter. When Parvati had grown up, she was put in charge of Shankara's welfare to attend all his needs and comforts as per Narada's advice. In the meanwhile, the Devatas were being tortured by the cruel Tarakasura. On the advice of Brahma, Indra and the Devas proceeded to Cupid, the Manmatha, and spoke to him thus: O Kandarpa, when Brahma had of yore created the worlds and peopled them, he began to wonder how to let them propagate themselves. He prayed to Vishnu, who, pleased with his tapas, gave him a boon. Brahma expressed a desire that Vishnu should find a way whereby propagation of species may take place speedily and with ease, almost automatically. Lord Vishnu then looked upon his spouse Indira, and you were born as a result. Manmata was the son of Vishnu and Indira. Your appearance filled the worlds with moha and desire for union. Your arrows were magical, fragrant flowers. Your bow was made of sweet sugar cane. Vishnu then blessed you with success and invincibility and told Brahma, this Manmata will take care of propagation of species according to their respective karma, and you may just remain a witness. We therefore come to you now for help, filled with pride as a result of the boon secured from Brahma himself. Tarakasura is torturing the inhabitants of the three worlds, and nobody can subdue him. He is especially bent on ill treating us, Devatas. Only a son born of Shiva and Parvati may conquer him. But Shiva is now without a spouse and is in deep samadhi, following the loss of Sati Devi. You alone can bring about the birth of Shiva's son. None else can bring about such a miracle to pass at this juncture. Gauri is ever by Shankara's side, doing all she can to make him comfortable. But if he opens his eyes to behold her pristine beauty, if you will use your power and make him cast a loving glance on Gauri with a desire for her, a son would immediately be born to Shiva, and the destruction of Taraka will thus be assured. Pleased by Indra's praise of his prowess, Kandarpa or Manmatha set forth to the Himalayas and there beheld Shankara in Samadhi with the divinely beautiful Parvati sitting by him in great devotion. He let fly his invincible arrow at Shiva, whereupon the latter opened his eyes and beheld the bewitching form of Parvati before him, and he was moved with love. Immediately, however, he recovered his self control and looked around for the cause of his disturbance to his samadhi. Beholding Manmadha hiding behind a flowering bush with his arrow, bow, and arrow poised, he grew furious and opening his third eye of fire, he reduced Manmatha to ashes instantaneously. Parvati was shocked at what had happened on her account, and vowing to wed Shiva at any cost, she went to her father and with his permission retired to the forest for severe penance. Meanwhile, Chitrakarma Ganganatha saw the ashes of Manmatha, and being a Chitrakarma, a skilled worker, he molded the ashes into a cadaverous human form. He became alive on being placed before Shiva and shone with sinister effulgence. Chitrakarma Gananatha embraced him with great affection and taught him the great Satarudriya mantra so that he may propitiate Lord Rudra and obtain boons to his heart's content. Accordingly, he worshipped Shankara with japa of the mantra. Shankara, being pleased with his faith and perseverance, bade him ask for boons. He desired that half the strength of his foes during the battle should be transferred to himself, and that none of the weapons of his foes should have any effect on him. Granting these boons, Shiva also gave him power to rule all kingdoms for 60,000 years. He gave him many celestial weapons too, and disappeared from sight. Brahma, who had been watching all this with wonder, uttered the words Khanda, Khanda, meanings well done. Hence he became known as Bhandasura. Thus, in this chapter, we heard the story of how Bhandasura was born. It all happened in the past when Sati Devi, the wife of Shiva, she had left her body during the Daksha Yagna because her father Daksha had insulted her husband Shiva. And then Shiva, having lost his wife, went into a deep meditation, closing his eyes. Meanwhile, Sati was reborn to Himavanta as Parvati or Gauri, and then she went back to her husband of the previous life, Shankara, in order to please him. However, Shankara was not opening his eyes, so all the Devas together they asked Cupid Manmatha to help Parvati to get the love of Shankara because it is only by the union of Shiva and Shakti, Shiva and Parvati, that the Kumara would be born who would going to slay Tarakasura, who is terrorizing, demonizing all the Devatas. So, with that intention, Kama went to Shiva and then, with his capability, with his power, he disturbed the senses of Shiva. And then, when Shiva opened the eyes, he saw the loving glance of Gauri. And before he could fall in love with her, he knew that it was all done by Manmatha. Opening his third eye of fire, he burned Manmatha into ashes. And then Chitrakarma, one of the gana of the Shiva, who himself is a skilled worker, he took ashes of Manmatha, and from that he created a small image, a human image. And when Shiva gave make it alive, the Bhandasura was born, and Chitrakarma taught him the Shatarudriya mantra, and by reciting that mantra, Bhandasura pleased that Asura had pleased the Shiva, and from him he got several boons by seeing him how he could able to achieve everything. So Brahma uttered the name Bhanda, that he had done, he has well done, that he had done a great job, that he could able to please Rudra and get so many boons that he could rule all the kingdoms for 60,000 years. Namaste Sharada Devi, Kashmira Puravasini, Twamaham Prarthaye Nityam, Vidyadanancha Dehime. Goodbye.